Hello my precious little dragons, thank you for joining me today. So, I just realized that I needed to make an intro for this video. So first off, this is part 2. So this is my blind date with a book that I have had planned since like October. But I wanted to do something like kind of fun for Valentine's Day, and I thought doing blind date with a book would be fun. So if you have not seen part 1, I will link it up here, and that's where I kind of go through my process of how I got the books, and I, you know, read the synopsis, give my like initial first thoughts about what I might think about the books, and then this part is where I actually read the first chapters of all of my blind dates and kind of get my first impressions of them and see if we're a good match. I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. Hey guys, sorry for the absolutely horrid lighting. I'm in my bedroom because I am getting ready to sit down and read a couple books. So I decided it's the first night, or it's the last night before my classes start, so I am just going to get through a couple of these chapters. As I explained before, the way I conceptualize this is that I really wanted it to be like a full like blind date with a book where you barely get to know it and you have to make a judgment about whether you're going to continue or not. I wanted to not just have the experience of not knowing what the book was going to be, but also just read the first chapter and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on it, and that's the only way I can fit this many books into the video. And I'm going to sort of give my verdict based on first impressions. The first book I'm going to read is, or read the first chapter of, is Marley and Me by John Grogan. So I have Aria at my feet, and let's get started. Do all my books look interesting? Yeah? Promise not to eat them? You promise not to eat my books? Stop it. No, it's not for eating. That's the look of guilt. Marley doesn't want you to eat him. Okay, this made me laugh. She adored both the gesture and the plant and thanked me by throwing her arms around my neck and kissing me on the lips. Then she promptly went on to kill my gift to her with an assassin's cold-hearted efficiency. Okay, honestly, that was like a really cute introduction. I'm like, oh. The preface like introduces you to the author's childhood dog and like Saint Sean, which is supposed to like parallel their like coming like married life with the world's worst dog. So of course I know very, very little about the actual content of the story aside from the fact that it largely centers around a dog and the movie makes people cry. So it starts right away with like setting up the married life. I really like the author's description. There was a couple things that made me laugh out loud already, or at least just chuckle. Then like they're introducing puppies and talking about how the one that they're gonna end up getting is the clearance dog, which I don't know why they didn't ask why it's on clearance, because all of the other males were like $375 and the lady's like, that one's $350. Like the first thing I would have been like, oh, why is he $350? You know? Anyway, but they did not ask that as far as I know. Anyway, but it seems to be fate. They're destined for the clearance dog, and it's very cute. And actually the mother's name is Lily and Aria's mother's name was Lily. So I was just like, oh, that's fun. Anyway, so yes, I'm not sure if I'll be reading this right away, but it does look very cute. And obviously I love this edition of it. It's so much fun. Yeah. Alright, the next one I'm going to read is The Great Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which, I mean, I've already read Sherlock Holmes before, so actually, which one does this start with? Scandal in Bohemia. Okay. Yeah, I've read that one before. So this is the one with Irene Adler. Let's go ahead and get started, even though this is one I've technically already read, so. What do you do when your blind date is familiar? haven't read Sherlock Holmes in so long, but it's like returning to an old friend. I love it so much. Anyway, so Scandal and Bohemia, like, even if I hadn't read it before, I feel like it's just such a good mystery because it doesn't dawdle. It just throws you right into it. It's like, okay, here's the situation. This is what our brilliant detective has to figure out. It even, like, throws, like, I mean, Watson's been married and he's like, I'm just gonna drop in on Sherlock. And then Sherlock's just like,
ooh, my friend, please, sit down.
Like, I mean, obviously he doesn't do that. He doesn't like any type of the softer emotions. He just likes the logic. But obviously he cares for his friend and he wants him to be there with him. So he's just like,
No, no, you're staying. You're solving a mystery with me. No, you're staying.
So funny. I love him. But yeah, it was just comforting. Not gonna lie, I'm probably just gonna read through that whole thing later. It's just fun. I haven't read it in so long I could barely remember any of the details of Scandal and Bohemia. I remember it, but like just ever so vaguely. Ever so vaguely. Like, I remember the BBC Sherlock version more than I remember Scandal and Bohemia, which is probably bad of me, but anyway, but yes, that one's very good. Here's a reason Sherlock Holmes is famous. I'm sorry, Arthur Conan Doyle, you made Sherlock too good, and you made Watson and the friendship too good, and just everything about it's too good. I have to love it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, roll in your grave. Alright, the next one up is Better Off Famous by Jane Mendle. This is a YA one. I had never heard of it before I got it, so let's go. Alright, so after the first, prologue in the first chapter, I think I'm interested in the concept of the novel because the concept is more like it's like a look at teen fame and like what fame does to children who are in it and like examining the rise and downfall of childhood fame. So that in theory is interesting. Yeah, I can very much tell it's an early aughts YA. Just the style of writing, just the kind of like I'm dorky and weird and not like other girls kind of stuff like that hits you right off the bat. Introducing you to the main character with an embarrassing moment to try and connect you to that character, like, oh, they're just like me, that kind of thing. Again, because I'm interested in the concept, I think I would definitely give it a chance, but because of the writing style and just kind of knowing how a lot of like the early aughts YAs just kind of went, I don't think it would be very high up on my TBR. It'd be like something I'd get to when I got to it kind of thing. It wouldn't be something that I'm like dying to read like right now. All right, these two came together. I'm going to start with
A Murder Most British, the Postern of Fate.
Let's get going. Okay, I just have a little anecdote about, like, it mentioned Androcles and the Lion. But, like, the second I read the words Androcles and the Lion, my brain was catapulted back to, like, a single moment from an Adventures in Odyssey episode that I probably haven't listened to in, like, 5 years. And it was, like, I don't even remember the context of the episode. It was, like, a game show episode or something like that. And all I remember is they go, Androcles and the Lion! And they go on to tell the whole story. Oh my gosh, it was a game show episode. It was something about morals. Because it's a show within a show, and I can't remember what the show was that the different characters were doing anyway, but all I remember is they told the story of Androcles and the Lion, which is where I first heard the story. So all that had to do was have the character say Androcles and Lion, and I'm just catapulted back like whiplash. Yeah. Alright, so that was a very charming first chapter. I mostly say it was charming because it's just this, like, I think it's a newlywed couple. I've never read a Tommy and Tuppence mystery, so yeah. I thought it was very charming. They're just talking about the books and like they have so many books they don't fit on the shelves and they don't have enough room for all the books, which is very relatable issue for me. It wasn't quite as fast with the mystery as like the Sherlock Holmes but like, you know, it's getting there, like it's setting up something important. And from reading the back, you know that they find something in an old children's book, and they did set it up in this first chapter where they bought a bunch of the books from the people who they bought the house from because they just wanted to leave stuff. I mean, it is set up, it's just not quite there yet, so I'm assuming it'll come in the next chapter or two. You can tell it's still moving fairly fast just based on the synopsis in the back and the content of the first chapter. But I think it's very charming. I would definitely continue with it. All right, on to The Secret of Chimneys. They're talking about tea. Now I want tea. Tea and have a muffin. All right, so I clocked a couple of problematic things on this one. Hi. Muffin's not for you. It's chocolate. Book is not for you. It's paper. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. You have lipstick on your nose. I'm trying to talk about books. Do you want to talk about books? I guess that's a no. Okay, anyway. So, I think it's one of those, because I mean, it's obviously an older text, so I think there's a lot happening. You could just tell there's like some racist undertones in there and some misogynistic undertones in there. Like, I didn't like the way the two male characters at the beginning were talking about the group of women on the Jimmy's tour group. I feel like that would just kind of like make me uncomfortable like reading. So like maybe the mystery itself is good, but like I can read other mysteries. And there's other Agatha Christie mysteries that I know like aren't as bad. I feel like it's kind of like hit and miss when it comes to Agatha Christie as to like what's going to be like problematic now and what's going to be okay. I have a feeling that one's going to err more on the side of problematic. Obviously, I've just read the first chapter, so I can't say that for sure, but I just have a feeling. Right. Next is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So this is kind of a classic dystopian-ish science fiction. It's on my TBR. I've been wanting to get to it for a while. Well, I say for a while. It's just like one of those classics that you have on your list. Like, you get to it when you get to it. So, gonna read the first chapter, see what I think. Just one chapter in, and I already have so many thoughts. Wow, that was a time capsule of old science. Oh my gosh. Wow. I would love to see Mama Dr. Jones react to literally just the first chapter of this book. I think I mean, there's obviously, there's like some stuff. I mean, it was written in the 1930s, so they know some of the basic stuff, and then there's obviously some stuff that we've learned since then about how the fetus develops, about how personality develops, about how much you can and can't influence things. Yeah, they're like, we shake the fetus in the surrogate bottle and learn to associate topsy-turvy with well-being, and they're most happy when they're on their heads because we're training rocket engineers who fix things on planes in the middle of the... What? What? No, that's not... I mean, conditioning is powerful, yes, but that's not how conditioning works. You can tell this was written very much in the whole era where blank slate, tabula rasa, and behaviorism was starting to really be a big thing. Like, it's all about the conditioning. It's all about like humanity is just like a blank slate that can be shaped. It's really fascinating. Like, it's a time capsule. You could tell there's definitely going to be some problematic stuff in there, which it's also dystopian, so I'm curious to know And I definitely think I would have to like read more of it to actually figure it out. Like how much of it is influenced by actual problematic / bad science stuff at the times, and how much of it the author was trying to point out with the dystopianness of the novel. Because that's where it's hard to tell, because I've only read one chapter. So I'm not going to put too much into the various problematic things that I read quite yet, because I just don't know with only having read one chapter. But wow, that was because it's all science. They're like in the lab that basically formulates cloned humans, and like they like split the embryo between like, I think they said 76 to 98 times or something like that, and so you get like 98 identical twins, and they condition the fetus to do certain things, but they like specifically don't make them intelligent enough to be like actual humans. They're just kind of like subhuman like servants that works in like mines and stuff, but they're formulated specifically to their environment. The ethics of that, oh my gosh, like just thinking through the ethics of that hurts my brain. Yeah, it'd be interesting to read through the rest of it. I don't know that I do it right away, but I mean it's not a big book, so I get to it at some point. Okay, this is the one that's a sequel. So it's Deathstalker Rebellion, sequel to Deathstalker. So I have the feeling I'm going to be intensely confused by this first chapter, but let's see. Let's give it a try. Okay, so I'm at page 19. It's not good. Skipped. I was like, okay, how many more pages do I have left? Chapter 2 is at page 54.
What the heck, Simon?
Mr. Green, why is chapter 2 at page 55? I need to know for my sanity. Thank you. I will continue. But why? Okay. So, this is like, I want my old life back. I was perfectly happy being a minor historian of no importance to anyone but myself. The best wines, first-class meals, every whim indulged, and waited on hand and foot every minute of the day and night. No worries, no responsibilities I couldn't safely delegate to someone else, and absolutely no chance of being suddenly and nastily killed. I'd go back like a shot if I could. I just want to know, what historian has first-class meals, every whim and indulgence met? Like, what? This is how academics are treated in their world? Like, dang, I don't care if it's badly written, I want to go. I read this much. I read 54 pages of this. It was so bad. It was in desperate need of an editor. I found multiple typos. The dialogue, everything was so clunky, and like the classic adage for creative writing is show, don't tell, and this was like all tell. Like I was worried I was going to be confused because it's a sequel. I was not confused at all because it told me literally everything. It recapped basically the entirety of the last book, ran through all of the players, whether they were relevant or not. Like, I mean, oh boy, it was not good. It was not good. I won't be continuing with that one. I don't want to own it. I will give it to Goodwill or something, and maybe someone else will enjoy it. It was definitely a ripoff of Star Wars. Like, so much a ripoff of Star Wars. The amount of times they're like, "You're the hope of humanity." Oh, and Deathstalker. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't end on that note. I have to do at least one more because I have to do something. I have to get that one out of my head. Oh my gosh. I will fully admit I skimmed at least. I started semi-skimming after about page 30. So the last like 20 pages were somewhat skimmed, except when I read a truly ridiculous paragraph, and then I had to go back and go, what? The entire first 2 pages is him having nervous peas in the utilitarian toilet. That's a choice to start your book. Okay, let's hopefully end this on a good note. The Huntress of Thornbeck Forest by Melanie Dickerson. Let's hope and pray to God this one is better than the last one. I think it will be. This one sounds more up my alley. I just hit myself in the face with a book. Whew, I can tell it's late. Okay, so this was one of the ones that, like, right off the bat with the description, I was like, ooh, I'm interested. Because it's, like, Forrester after the poacher, and, like, they love each other in their day lives, but then, like, they don't know. Like, he doesn't know that she's the poacher that he's after. Ooh, the drama. Anyway, we were introduced to the two main characters, Odette and Jorgen, and yeah, I think I'd definitely read this one soon. Historical fiction, Robin Hood-ishness, all up my alley. So, this one's good. I like this one.
Stop sniffing the books.
Stop sniffing the books.
You don't need to sniff the books all the time. You don't. Trust me. See now? You're causing all sorts of trouble.
Alright, I have 5 books left to blind date, so I'm gonna get them done tonight. I have my mug of tea ready to go. A very nerdy mug of tea. Thanks, Claretta. It was a Christmas present. Fits me perfectly. I am going to start off with Princess Bride, that I did not read over winter break because I kind of did, like, literally nothing over winter break.
Okay. Let me read my book in peace, child.
Alright, so this is the first time I'm actually, like, reading the book, because, like, obviously I grew up watching the movie. I shouldn't say obviously, I guess everyone didn't grow up watching the movie, but I grew up watching the movie. It reads just like the tone of the movie. I shouldn't compare it so much, but, like, the tone is exactly what I expected, which is fun. It's extremely sarcastic, very flamboyant, like, fairy tale on steroids, and it's only the first chapter, so obviously I'm going to read through the rest of it. It's a very fast read. This is like a 25th anniversary edition or something. Anyway, so it had a ton of introductions at the front that I didn't read because I didn't have time and I wanted to read the other books tonight. So, yes, anyway, very fun. Love it. It's great. Alright, I just picked up the next book in the lineup. It's The Song of Achilles. Let's get going. Okay, not gonna lie, I almost entirely, like, botched it by like, continuing on through chapter 2, because the first chapter is literally 5 pages, and I was not expecting that because, like, every other book, like, they've been, like, way longer chapters, I guess, so I feel like I have a lot less to say about this one just because the chapter's so short. However, I will say that I already really like the writing style. Like, the descriptions are really good. Like, it's like written in the style, like, it's first person, and then it's written in, like, looking back on a memory, like he was reflecting on his childhood and the first time he saw Achilles, even though he's not named Achilles yet, but you know who it is because you read the back cover. Anyway, so yeah, I like it so far. Like, again, it's 5 pages, so I have only good things, no bad things, and I look forward to the rest of it. And I think that's all I can say about this one, because again, 5 pages isn't enough to give you much more of an opinion than that, I feel like. 9th house is next in the lineup. Let's get started. Alright, that one my interest. It was really, really good and really intense. I wasn't expecting it to start off so intense so fast. I guess I probably could have guessed because of like what the back cover said her backstory was, but like I wasn't expecting, like the prologue was really intense, but then I was expecting like the first chapter to like kind of take its time. But nope, it just hopped right in there. It's like we're getting into some freaky-ish right now. Freaky. It's like like you're asking for dark academia, and it's like here's a little bit of body horror, some ghosts, some terrible ethics about medical procedures. No, it's not really medical procedures. It's magic. There's a lot happening. Yes, there's a lot happening. I need to know what happens next, and there's like mystery like world in there, like what happened to this character? So yes, I need to read the rest of this, and I already know that I like the writing style. Like it's really good. I'm like this seems like it's gonna be a top-notch read. That's what this seems like. Looking for Alaska. Second to last. Let's go. What if I turn the book right side out? Alright, I'm gonna assume that I've reached the end of the first chapter, which I say assumed because it doesn't really have chapter headings, really. It does have, it starts off with like a part 1, which is like before, and then it goes straight into 136 days before, which is the header. So when it went to the next 100 and whatever before, I assume that's the second chapter. And that's what we're gonna go with because it's getting late and I need sleep and I'm really bad at it this semester. Again, it was only like 4 pages. There's not a lot to say. I mean, it seemed pretty decent so far. I don't mind John Green's writing style, so like it just seemed normal to me. I know that this was like a big book, like for people like a few years back. I'm interested to see like if the hype has held up kind of after a few years. I mean, it just starts off with a kid getting ready to go to boarding school. So, and he does seem like he's kind of in that typical, like, I'm not a popular kid route. Like, it's very clearly going that route. Yeah, I mean, it tells you that on the back of the thing. And it seems like it's somewhat similar to The Fault in Our Stars, and that your main character is like spurred on by like literature, which for Hazel in Fault in Our Stars, it's like her favorite author, like in his book that had the mysterious ending. And in this one, it's the poet Francois Rabelais, who had a last word that he wants to follow. Anyway, so seems interesting. I think there's other books in this list that would top it for what is next on my TBR, but like I want to get to it, you know. All right, I reached the very last one. This is the book from my friend Bethany, and it is Forevermore. So let's get started. I think I like it. It's definitely a different style than I've read in a while, but it just took me a little bit to get into it. The dialogue is very, very heavily stylized. So it takes place in Texas, so it's like that very, very heavy Southern drawl. And it's like whenever dialogue's written in an accent, it takes you a second to kind of get into it, but then once you get into it, you of course start to read it in the accent in your mind. So, I mean, just depends on your style of writing. I think so far, because it switched between our two main characters, Jacob and Hope, and I think so far I like Jacob's voice better than Hope's, but obviously it's just the first chapter, so it's hard to tell. There's definitely a little bit of mystery surrounding the family, like what's the family secret, because it's like Jacob's worried that Hope's gonna blab and but it doesn't tell you what the secret is really, so it's just kind of leaving you to wonder and like keep you engaged, which worked. I mean, I'm like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? So it seems like it's gonna be a relatively light-hearted book, just based on the tone of the first chapter, but I mean, also hard to tell. I wish I knew what era it took place in, because there's like nothing on the back cover that tells me the era, and my only real hint was that it said the former was in blue jeans. So I looked up what date blue jeans were invented, and it said the technical date is considered 1873. So I know that this takes place sometime after 1873, and Hope came in on a mule and cart, so I'm going to assume sometime before the 1930s. So gives me what, a span of like 60 years that this book takes place in? Yeah. Hopefully they'll tell me at some point, because that's gonna bother me. I want to know what era I'm reading in, because it kind of sets the tone, but it's like the only thing that's actually bothering me. The rest of it seems good from the start. Yeah.
All right, so that was my very last blind date. Yeah, I feel pretty good. You know, I think it's interesting. So the whole point of this was kind of to read through a bunch of different books and sort of just get a glimpse into it, because really the first chapter just sort of sets that tone for you. It just tells you kind of what style of book you're in for. It doesn't really tell you much more than that. And I think in that sense, like for a mood reader like me, that's actually really helpful, because I largely read determined on what mood I'm in, obviously, because I'm a mood reader. So, for instance, if I know I'm in the mood for something lighthearted, I would definitely go for like Forevermore or Princess Bird, which is on the bottom of the stack. But if I was in the mood for something darker, I would definitely go for something like Ninth House, which, you know, is obviously right from the start a lot more grungy and like intense. But, you know, like they all have very different feels to them, and since I didn't know what I was getting in for it, that also made it more fun, because I just kind of had to go with the flow and see what the books really said to me. Obviously, the biggest fail was that Deathstalker Rebellion book. Oh my gosh, that was just terrible. If any of you have ever read it or heard of this series, let me know how on earth it's listed as a bestseller, because if that first book is anything like the first 50-something page chapter of the sequel, then why? I don't really have like a best so far. I will say the ones that I think I'm most interested in reading first would probably be Ninth House, Princess Bride, and I will say like the Song of Achilles and Forevermore are also at the top of the list, because like those three books that I got from friends, I'm obviously a little bit biased because I got them from my friends, and they're at the top of my TBR because I want to be able to discuss them with my friends. If I was going purely based on the content of the first chapters of the books, the one I would be least likely to continue would be Deathstalker Rebellion. Which ones I would be most likely to read first would obviously depend on my mood. However, I would say the ones that were most engaging and interesting to me would probably be, in no particular order, Ninth House, Princess Bride, The Secret of Chimneys, and The Huntress of Thornbeck Forest. I would say probably honorable mention in there would be Song of Achilles, but that first chapter was just so short that even though I was really interested, it was hard to tell a lot from that one. So like I feel like that one's just kind of an outlier, because if I had like 20 more pages of the same level with that one, I probably would have just immediately put it in there, but since it was literally only 4 pages, like I can't tell a lot. And obviously it's just kind of like, it could be that those books that I listed as my most interested, you know, like I could end up hating some of them. Well, I don't really tend to hate books that much, but I could end up really disliking some of them, and then one that I didn't really pay as much attention to could end up being like my absolute favorite. But if I'm just going based off of style and how much that first chapter just grabbed me, those are my picks. Everything else is just kind of like, it was good, like I just want to see like where it was going, except for Deathstalker Rebellion, which again, it can burn. It can go away. I saw enough. I don't need any more, and I don't know what to do with that book now, because I don't think it deserves to be donated. It's not good enough for that. I think I finally need to learn how to use my fireplace and use it as kindling. Yes, I know it's sacrilegious to burn any books, But that one might deserve it, unless like everything about the writing style and everything completely changed. Oh my gosh. I need to stop talking about that book. Anyway, that one's at the bottom. Everything else was good and or great first chapters. Plus minus prologues. But I just thought this would be a fun, cute little idea, and I really just wanted to spend some time getting to know some new books. Thank you to Andy and Bethany for helping me out this video and giving me fun new books to read. I will be reading all 3 of the books, and I will be in touch about what I think about them. And I'm hoping I love them. I have good feelings about all 3. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say ending this video, and I can't think of it. But it could be because it's midnight and I need to go to sleep. We're just gonna end. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Happy Valentine's Day. Because I'm assuming I'm putting this up on Valentine's Day, editing Callista, get the date right. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you spend the day with people that you love, even if it's just over Zoom. I hope that you find something that brings you laughter and joy, and I hope you read a good book. And if you haven't tried doing a blind date with a book, like, I would highly recommend doing book exchanges with friends, or you can do what I did with the other supplementary books, and you can just head on over to Etsy. I mentioned all of the Etsy stores that I got my books from, but I know there's plenty others, and I saw a lot of ones that were UK based, so if you happen to be in the UK, there's also options for you. But I just think it's a really fun thing, and it's a good way to discover new books. You know, if I had only chosen one, I would have probably read the whole book and done a vlog on it, but I thought the essence of a blind date was that you really only get a limited amount of time to decide whether you want to continue or not, so I felt like the real true essence of a blind date was just to read the first chapter and report on that. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you have any thoughts on these books, or on blind dates with a book in general, or just have something interesting you want to say, even if it's just a random fun fact about giraffes, go ahead, leave it in the comments down below. You're all my precious little dragons. I hope you have a beautiful day. Stay magic, keep reading. I love you all so much. Goodbye.